My mom had like cancer twice, but they didn't say anything about like detergents or personal care. They didn't say anything about like organic food. And then 3 years later, after like chemo, like the cancer was back. Like I absolutely believe in modern medicine, but it's just more than just finding a symptom, treating the symptom. I believe in justice. Like I like my heart breaks when I see like literally how like modern slavery still exists. A company with values, if you haven't like a company that wants to have like a social impact, you cannot compete by price. If you start competing by price, then you're lost. So what I think it's like a challenge, but also an opportunity for a lot of brands is like to...
Welcome to the Good Profits Podcast, where we explore stories and strategies behind today's most inspiring impact-driven businesses. I'm your host, Dorianeh, and together we'll dive deep into the world of social enterprise, ethical business, and sustainability, bringing you the conversations with the visionaries who are making a difference. Let's dive in. So today we have an amazing guest. We're here with Sara Uribe, and she is the founder of Gaium Botanica, which is an organic skincare brand. So we are super excited to have her. We're here recording in Medellin, Colombia, and she's a native here, Paisa. So we're going to get into the conversation where she's going to share more about why she started the brand, her learnings from starting a brand from scratch, and how it can be useful for you. So Sara, how about we start off with telling a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in sustainability?
Of course. Hey, thank you very much, Dorianeh, for having me here. Like, it's absolutely amazing to having this space to share this type of stories and to share more about like this journey, because like literally like entrepreneurship is a proper journey, and more if you focus on sustainability, as you said. Well, I think that on sustainability, we can say that began at the UN. Because basically I was working there at the like sustainability area. Mm-hmm. I was with the permanent mission of Colombia working at the UN, and I was in charge of all the environmental like area with the Convention of Stockholm, with Ramsar, with CITES. So I was basically like taking care of all the environmental side of it, and specifically the first one that I mentioned, the Convention of Stockholm, was very shocking. Like when you go to daily meetings talking about it, it's very shocking because it's about like persistent organic pollutants and how like the plastic industry, personal care industry, like even like food industry is like has developed like very toxic ways of producing and packing and delivering products to us. So when you realize how's like all this like kind of system impacting our environment and our lives, you get really, really shocked. And then you realize like it makes no sense to build a company that it's like being profitable but is not giving back to the environment, because like we are living on a like finite planet. It has a limit, mm-hmm. It has an end, and we cannot expect unlimited growth on a limited planet. Yeah. So first, like you have to take out responsibly, and second, you have to return in order for you to expect to take more in the future. Because if you only take and you don't return, then at some point you won't be able to take out anymore.
Right, we won't run out.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that's why at that point I realized like a company that is not giving back to society or to the environment, for me it makes no sense, and like literally it has to be part of the core values of the company to give back to people and to nature. Mm-hmm. Because that's the reason. Like the only reason of a company is not being profitable is having an impact. Yeah. And the impact that you have is not only measured on the products that you deliver or the services, but also in how you give back to your community, mm-hmm. and to the planet.
Right. Profit isn't the only measure of success.
Exactly. Definitely it's not. For me, It's just like one variable, but you have to take into consideration so many other things.
Right. So the UN was where you first got to see on like a larger and global scale,
exactly,
like how product industry was impacting the environment. So I'm curious, like taking it back even before you started working at the UN, what was it like growing up?
Okay, that was like I had a very interesting childhood because like my parents used to love going on hikes during the weekends, and they used to love traveling. And like my game with my dad was to identify plants. So he would teach me the names of the plants around me, and then we were like, okay, what plant is that one and that other one?
That's so cute.
Yeah. So that was like a bonding, the way that I used to bond with my dad. So I learned to love nature, to appreciate nature, and then later on, it was a process in general. But then later on, my mom got cancer, so we had to transform all the relationship that we had with food, with detergents, with personal care. So those two things, between the way I was raised and like this like major lifestyle change, like got me closer to like how to like relate in a more like, let's say, symbiotic way with nature, to understand that like we come from there and all the answers are there. And if we want to have like a good life and we want to like improve our wellness, like we need to go back to nature. I also had a kind of a revelation at some point on a pilgrimage called the St. James Way. It was beautiful because that's a pilgrimage that takes like 30 days through the north of Spain, walking through beautiful like landscapes and forests, and even sometimes by the side of the sea. And the thing is, like, when you get to spend like 30 days just walking from sunrise
that's a long time.
Yeah. To the sunset, only with the forest and silence, like you really get to connect with that essence of nature. So for me, like there I found my purpose, and it was like my purpose is to connect people with nature, to be that bridge. And at the beginning I didn't know how, but then like I started like testing out like different ways, and this one ended up being like the easiest way to get to people closer to nature, because people is really into taking care of themselves, but there's still not enough trust on like medical side to go like fully for herbal remedies. But people is more willing to have an approach to personal care through nature. So people would prefer like the typical like almond oil over like mineral oil, you know?
Right.
But it would be more complex for someone to take chamomile tea instead of ibuprofen, you know? So sometimes it's like to choose your battles and know, okay, I want to be a bridge, but like how is easier to be that bridge?
In a way people are ready for it.
Exactly, also. In a way that people is ready for it. Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like, hearing more about your story, it sounds like this is kind of a culmination of your life.
Totally.
Like it was always leading to this point. Yeah. And it is really difficult to see someone who's battling cancer. And so I'm sure like discovering those life changes was like a huge overhaul, like for your family. What were some of the biggest things that you learned or that you were surprised by as you were learning about different products that you can replace or use different alternatives?
I mean, that was like at the beginning it was very shocking, because like my mom had like cancer twice. The first time like doctors like barely told her like don't have any red meat, avoid milk, avoid sugar.
Right, the foods first.
Exactly, but they didn't say anything about like detergents or personal care. They didn't say anything about like organic food. And then 3 years later, after like chemo, like the cancer was back. So we're like, why is this happening? And we're following all like the recommendations of the doctors. And that's the thing, it's like it's not only about like medicine. Of course, like I absolutely believe in modern medicine, but it's just more than just like finding a symptom, treating the symptom. It's like a mix of course, like modern medicine, but also your lifestyle. And but that time is that I had the chance to work at the UN. So then I realized, okay, with this Stockholm Convention, I realized that, okay, there are like many hidden chemicals and toxins in what we put in our body.
I see. So this was happening at the same time.
Exactly. This was so. Wow, then I realized, okay, so like this is like there's so many toxins. The thing is like we have like regulatory entities that take care that like no like toxins reach to our products. But like in the States, there are only like 11 like forbidden ingredients In Colombia, we have only like 65. And then in the UN, in the US, sorry, no, in the European Union, you have 1,300 out of like 13,000 ingredients that exist. And the thing is, I mean, it's not really to blame on these entities, because like it's very hard for the regulation to keep up with the industry. The industry will always go faster. But the thing is, like, okay, if we cannot like fully rely on these entities, like the only person that you can rely to take care of yourself is yourself. Exactly. So that's where like we can play an active role on choosing what are we putting on our bodies and how we take care of ourselves. That's why it's very important to be like an informed consumer and to know, okay, what's toxic and what's not. But then we have the same dilemma. It's just like, okay, you have 13,000 ingredients. How are you going to know the 13,000 and how are you going to know which ones are toxic and which ones are not? That's the thing. Then you go for like the nature-based ones. You need to go for the products that are nature-based, they're natural, they're organic, and they're ethical as well. So you need to go for like, it's not that hard, because like all the natural ingredients will be listed with their Latin name. So you will easily identify which ones are plants.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, and which ones are not. And if there's one that you really don't know what is it, just Google it. Just because EWG, it's a very like amazing platform to do that. But the thing is, they have a database classifying from 1 to 5 all the cosmetic industry ingredients, and there you can see like 1, it's like it's perfect, like water is 1, like glycerin is 1, like, you know, like almond oil is 1. But then you have 5 that are like very, very toxic ingredients, like phthalates and parabens and toluene, things that you should never put into your skin. So if there's an ingredient that you really don't know what is it, just Google it. It's that easy, first. And second, just try to go for more minimalistic like ingredients list. It's easier to...
If the list is shorter, it's usually going to be better for you.
Exactly. And it's easier to check out 1 or 2 ingredients that you don't know instead of a list of 50 or 60 exactly ingredients. That's also like thing is, your skin is your stomach. Like the simpler the menu, the easier to digest. Same for your skin. The shorter the list of ingredients is going to be for your skin, easier to process and to absorb as well. So just keep that in mind in order to choose and select the products that are good for yourself, and not just like good for the profit of the company.
Yeah. So EWG, I think I may have come across it. Do they have an app as well?
Yes, they do have an app. There are several apps to also check the ingredients that you're putting into your body. Like there's one that I used to love that it's called Think Dirty. It was so cool because you can literally just scan the
Oh, I love the sound of that. I'm gonna have to download that.
Yeah. the code, the barcode of the product, and then we'll immediately list you the whole list of ingredients and tell you like the classification of it. So then you can decide.
Nice.
Exactly.
It like relieves a lot of pressure from the everyday person, because memorizing 13,000 ingredients it's or impossible. Like at least knowing the big ones, that's a big piece of work.
Exactly. It is. But as I told you, it's just like begin to identify which ones are natural or which ones are not. And then at the end of the day, you end up like, if you start doing it, exactly. For example, when you cross around with Panthenol, okay, what is Panthenol? That doesn't sound like any natural. Then you learn that Panthenol is just vitamin B5. So it's perfectly fine. Or ascorbic acid, it's just vitamin C. And then niacinamide, it's just like vitamin B3. And so on. So like maybe even the names that might sound weird, like as long as you get more familiar with doing that exercise, you realize, oh, okay, those are just like vitamins, you know? So they're also fine. And then you realize that EDTX, then it's that one is toxic, you know? Okay. Dimeticone, then it's not the best for your skin because it's silicone. Amodimeticone, it's almost the same. So then you're still learning, and then it's going to be easier and easier every single time.
And it's cool that there are tools out there that can help, like, give you the summary.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. That's excellent. I like the story that you showed about the game with your dad. I feel like that's such a dad thing.
It is.
It's such a dad thing. I'm thinking about, like, when I was growing up, my dad and I, we used to study ant farms. and anthills.
Oh,
And so, like, I
nice.
remember growing up, we would go find the anthill, observe the colony, look at their paths.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a whole new universe, literally.
So while I'm not
Wow.
a bug person at all, but ants, they're like my little buddies. You know?
Yeah, that's so
Because of
cute.
that. Uh-huh.
Exactly. I think like parents influence a lot, especially like fathers influence a lot.
Yeah.
Their kids, or like what they're gonna like when they're older, like
Mhm.
what they're gonna notice, where they're gonna put their attention, like what they're like teach you.
Yeah.
You'll highly value that when you become an adult. So I think that's
And from
beautiful.
yeah, and so when we were talking the other day, it sounds like your parents really instilled in you like the curiosity for nature, and
Yeah.
then you were able to take it like several steps further into having like a relationship with it and studying it and caring for it. That's really a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's like because it's also different. I think as we as a generation, as we talked before, we have a different like view of the planet and our environment than the one our parents had.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, maybe your dad used to love ants, but he wouldn't like see the whole universe that existed and their fundamental role in our ecosystems. My baby,
Right.
you do. And my parents used to love nature, but they didn't saw like their relationship and like the interdependence that we have with nature. But I do, and I found a new, more than love, respect for nature, and I find a new like type of relationship with her. So I think that's fascinating to see how like from what our parents teach us to what we got and how we like develop that knowledge and that passion. It's absolutely amazing.
Just seeing that progression.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
over the
Exactly.
generations.
Exactly.
It's a cool thing. Yeah. So when we were talking earlier this week, you were talking about the different levels of a clean brand. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. Today, unfortunately, there's like a lot of greenwashing and things like, okay, many things can be natural. Some other few things might be organic, and then some other very, very few things are also ethical. And the thing is like, there's so many things that are natural, but are still not good for you. For example, like mineral oil, it's absolutely natural, but okay, that doesn't mean that it's good for your skin or your body or your hair or any part of you. So basically, okay, then just don't use it. Even though it might be natural, then it's not good for you. Then you have organic. Then, okay, we jump from natural to organic. Organic, what does that mean? Is that it's grown without pesticides. It means that it's grown without any fertilizers. So it's just like a whole other level, because then you're protecting the soil. However, there are like even one more level, and it's like ethical, because then you're not only protecting nature, but you're also protecting the people. Like today, there's a very popular ingredient that is like shea butter, but like the ethical concerns behind the production of shea butter are like very, very, very high, because it's like almost like an exploitation level to get the shea butter. The same happens with palm kernel oil. It's like, okay, it's natural, okay, it can be organic, but then
what about the people
exactly,
who are
what about
involved
the
in
people
the
and the
process?
communities that are involved in the process? So then you need to check those three levels. So first, it comes from nature, okay, but like how it comes from nature and how it gets take out from nature. I think those three levels are very, very important, and like when possible, the ideal is to go with the ethical company, because usually the ethical company also takes into consideration like the organic part and the natural part. And unfortunately, like just so many products are just like labeled as natural, and people just like think it's better just because it's natural. Yeah, there are many things that are natural, but it's still not good for you or for the environment. So natural doesn't mean necessarily good.
And there's not much regulation in terms of when and where you can use the term natural, right?
Exactly.
So brands typically, they just, have the green and beige branding, and they put natural on there, and you're like, okay, that's got to be the healthy one.
Exactly, and that's a problem because like they even say like with ingredients of natural origins, great, but if you hyper process them, then they're not natural anymore, or they might have like one natural ingredient. The thing is like they're not like obliged to put like everything on detail. They're not even obliged to put the process. They just need to put the ingredients, but they are not telling you like how's the process and where it comes from. So that's a problem. You really need to identify like the source, and there are some certifications. That's absolutely true. The thing is like there's also unfortunately a lot of corruptions into the certifications.
Oh, okay.
So better you do your research and you can get in touch to the companies. The thing is, like, a company that is doing things right, it's proud of it and will communicate it because they are proud of what they're doing. So I think it's very, very important. Like, of course, as a company, I'm saying this to myself as well, because I feel that I need to communicate it more for Gaium. But like, as a company, when you're doing things right, you're proud of it and you communicate it. Mm-hmm. When a company is very sneaky, they don't really want to disclosure with their procedures and they don't really want to share with you how to do things, where their raw material comes from, then I start doubting about them.
Yeah, because they'll just be flashing different keywords.
Exactly.
Say, we believe in this.
Exactly.
But not necessarily giving the stats or the data to back it up.
That's why it's also important to like try to buy local and to smaller companies, because usually smaller companies try to be more local, to be more transparent, and it's easier to reach to them. Probably if you try to reach P&G, it's going to be harder to get an answer from them.
Who do you call? Who do you message?
Exactly. And also they have a global like sources of raw material. They have like huge like chains, suppliers. Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be way more complex to track back like what are like where do the raw material comes from, like what are their procedures, are being ethical. So it's harder to measure that on
with
bigger
a massive
companies.
Company.
Exactly. Yeah. But in smaller companies, you can easily reach the owners or reach a level that you can have like an honest conversation with them. They can tell you, okay, we're trying to do this, we're trying to improve here, but we want to get there and we're working towards it. We might not be there, but like we're trying and we're doing the best we can right now. And that's what you want to like, that's the type of companies that you want to support. The ones that even they might not be there yet, they're trying to get there.
They're striving and transparent about where they are.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're working towards a goal of giving back to people and giving back to nature. And that's the most important part of it.
So what does this look like for Gaium? So I can tell just by like your passion and talking about it, like you do your research and you want to know like where is this coming from? Who's involved in the process?
Totally.
So what was it like when it came for sourcing like ingredients for your skincare brand?
Exactly. At the beginning, I was kind of like stuck in the second level, in the organic level.
Okay.
Like natural wasn't enough, but then organic was enough. And I was like making sure everything like was super high quality, organic from great suppliers. But the thing was like, okay, I was also like importing a lot of things. And I realized like why I'm doing that if I'm on the second most biodiverse country in the world and I can't support my own people.
Hello.
Exactly. So at that point, like the company like made a turn and I decided to like focus on just like native raw material and like supporting local communities and small businesses and getting to know from where and how like all these like natural products were getting to my hands to be transformed into this beautiful and amazing like skincare products. So at that point, it's when I decided, okay, like I'm already doing like a great job doing organic, because I was already aware of what I told you in the Stockholm Convention, that like like pesticides are really, really bad for our health, and also like the part of like packaging, because like plastic leaks a lot of toxins into our like personal care products. So I was already like investing on like high quality glass containers and organic like raw material. But then I realized, okay, like I'm missing that ethical part of it. And then I decided to do the research, because like when you study like organic skincare formulation, like you get to know like the basics, you know, like they cannot teach you the 13,000 ingredients that are in the industry. They teach you the basics, and then it's on you to do the research to select what you want to put on your products. So basically I started doing the research, and I was like, okay, so I know that we're like a developing country, but like there has to be something. Okay, so who's producing this? And then I realized, okay, there's an amazing ingredient that Switzerland had to come here to do the research, but like they found an amazing oil, cold pressed oil in the basin of the Magdalena River, that it's only like sourced with the help of the communities, because they are the only ones that know where the trees are. And they're sourcing this amazing cold pressed oil called the Paradise Nut Oil. And this oil won prize in France as the best green anti-aging ingredient natural in the world.
And it's right here.
Exactly, and it's right here. And I was like, why are we not using this? And there I realized that like 80% of the oil was getting exported to Germany. Only 20% was staying in the country, and it's still of a very, very small like batches, because only it was sourced from like wild trees, because they're still not like growing like crops of from it. So then I realized, okay, we have this like magic here, and what do we have on the Andean mountains, and what do we have in the Amazon? I mean, like the Amazon is one of the biggest pharmacies in the world. Yeah. So I was like, okay. And then we have cacai, we have sachainchi, we have buriti, we have copaiba, we have these amazing paradise nut oils. I was like, okay, we have to use this. That's like also our competitive advantage, to find these amazing and unique oils and to be an ambassador of Colombian biodiversity to the world, and to show them like what we have into the same Colombians. It's like, why we prefer the almond oil imported from California to our amazing paradise nut oil from the Magdalena River Basin, you know?
Which has won global awards.
Exactly. So I was like, I need to focus on this also because, as I was telling you, they have a real impact on the communities. This specific oil, the communities were like very, very poor, and they were like cutting down the trees to use the wood to sell it out, because it was like a very like hard wood. But the thing is, like, now that they discover that from pressing the seeds and getting the oil, they can get paid like 5 to 10 times more than what they used to get paid for the wood. They're taking care of the trees, so you have a real impact on the ecosystem. You're like preserving a tree that was endangered, and you're giving a higher income to this community. So you're giving them a chance to like evolve, to get out of poverty, to have a chance to send their kids to school, to university, just by buying something that is local and that is produced by a community, because they're the ones who know where the trees are. No one else knows. So like the companies, like they are like pressing and commercializing the oil, they depend on the community. So creating those like links of interdependence are the ones that like ensure like a healthier social development for our country and for the world in general. If you consume local and if you look for the development of your communities around you, you're creating a real impact to the future. And the same with the Amazon and products, buriti, copaiba. Those are extracted from the barks of the trees. Those are resins. So you need also locals to literally taking care of the trees, because like if the tree dies, then you won't be able to extract the resin anymore. So you're creating also this symbiosis between the community that is extracting the oils and nature, because now they see a healthy like dependency on nature, because it's not about like cutting and killing and just like spoiling the jungle, but it's like about taking care of it and then getting profit out of like caring for their ecosystem. So I think it's really beautiful, and that's what we're looking forward to have like even a bigger impact. Like right now, I don't know if I told you this, but like in Gaium, we're trying to protect as much as possible the Paramo ecosystem. It's a very unique ecosystem that we rarely have like in Ethiopia, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, some in Peru and Ecuador. And this very particular ecosystem, Colombia, has a huge privilege of having like most of the Paramo ecosystems in the world, one of the highest rates of Paramo ecosystems.
Could you explain what the Paramo ecosystem is?
Exactly. It's an ecosystem that exists above 3,000 meters over the level of the sea. Okay. And it has a very particular vegetation and a very particular like fauna as well. I don't know if you have heard about the Andean bear. And it's exactly so bear. It only exists in that ecosystem, as well as so many like species of birds and frogs and so many like precious animals. And the thing also, like there's a very specific flora. And in Colombia, 70% of the water that we consume in the cities is produced in the Paramo.
70%.
So, exactly. So like we have a very high reliance on the Paramo for the sweet water that we have here. And the problem is that like farmers are just destroying that ecosystem, and they're killing the bears to get to put more cattle there. So that's been like a huge problem here in Colombia. And what we're trying to do with Gaium is that if you want to give like donate half of the price of adopting a plant for the paramo, a very specific plant that is called frailejón for the paramo, then we'll put the other half. And like that will help to protect the paramo and will help to protect the bears and will help to protect this very unique ecosystem and our water sources as well. So that's how you impact not only like taking care of the source where you're sourcing your products, but then you also care like what are you giving back as a company. And then you also have to think about the afterwards of the product. Like all our products are biodegradable, so none of our products will pollute the water. Any water source is going to get polluted with our products. And then all the containers are made of glass, so they can be recycled or reused. So by the end, you have to think about all these parts. Okay, so how is the sourcing affecting like my environment? How is like the use of the product, and how is the afterlife of the product affecting also the environment and the people? And as well, after all that like life cycle of the product, how is your company giving back to nature and to like local communities? We decided to like do this like 2-in-1, because as we protect the paramo, we are protecting as well our water sources. So it's like we're also protecting our people for a very uncertain future with climate change. So I think that's very important to
super holistic.
Exactly.
And I feel like there are some really good takeaways for people who are starting their own product-based brand. Even just the principle of thinking about what is the product itself, what's going into it.
Exactly.
And then the people who are involved with making it, what's the supply chain, where is it coming from, and then the afterward of how does it impact the environment after the product, after the jar is empty, what happens?
Exactly, after the end of the life cycle of the product, because you're also responsible for that. You cannot think that you're only responsible for the beginning. You're just an intermediary. You need to take care of like, okay, what's gonna happen afterwards? If you cannot offer like a refill service, then what's gonna happen with your bottles? What, like, are they recyclable? Or they can be reused, or like what are you gonna do to help the product keep circulating? That's what we call circular economies, not just like a linear economy when you get like something extracted, then used, then thrown away.
Throw it away.
Exactly.
It's out of mind, but it's somewhere.
It's still there. Exactly. That's the thing. Like just because we throw away things doesn't mean they disappear. They're still there. Just we're not seeing
we don't
them.
have to think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's important to think about the whole cycle.
So what were some of the big takeaways that you learned going through this process yourself, sourcing products for Gaium? So you talked about after working at the UN, you felt like you understood like what was needed to have a good quality product and making sure that it was clean and organic. What was it that sparked or the noticeable change for you to make sure that it was ethical too?
When you're empathetic, you realize that every like minimal action that you take will have an impact on someone, and that with your money you vote on like how you want people to be treated. And I've always been very like empathetic, and I believe in justice. Like I like my heart breaks when I see like literally how like modern slavery still exists, and like people in China are being like literally exploited, and they're not being like fairly paid. And we don't have to go like that far. Like even here in Colombia, people are paid like very, very low salaries. So okay, like when you think about like how can we improve everyone's like situation like in life, then you have to think, okay, if I want to be like, I want to improve my life, then I also want like everyone's people's lives around me to be improved as well. And that's when you start thinking, like, because you have to question yourself. I think that's the most important part, like to be curious and to constantly questioning yourself and your company. It's like, how can I do this better? And once you have reached the part of organic, then you think like, how can I do this better? You'll get to think about the people that is producing it, and it's just like, okay, how can I do this better for these people? So for me, it was part of like kind of my nature. I've always been like highly empathetic first, and second, I'm a very curious soul. So like for me, it was natural to think about it like, okay, like I need to help these people, you know?
It was the
it's like they are exactly, if they are helping me, because they are literally helping me, it would have been impossible for me to go directly to the basic, right? Exactly, to extract the oils. Like this is possible thanks to them. So why I'm the only one here like perceiving a profit? It's not fair. So like then there's where you have to think, okay, if I have these two companies and one can like these two suppliers, sorry, and one can like make sure like and share with me all their like social programs that they're implementing, I can go and get to know the people and get to know like all the methods that they do to extract and like the whole like values of the company. And then I have this other supplier that it's basically just telling me, oh yeah, this is the price. Oh, can I get a little bit more information about your procedures and how like the values of the company? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll send you a PDF. They basically just send you, oh yeah, we're committed to fair trade, and they
just the statements.
Exactly, just the statements. It's just like, okay, I'll go with this one and I'll go visit them and I'll make sure that they are like doing what they are telling me they do. And that I can make sure that the practices are being like the best ones for the people and for the environment. So you have also to take into consideration that this one might be a little bit more expensive than this one, but it's because like what's behind. It's not more expensive because they have a like higher margin of profit. It's because they're having like a better treatment to the people that is working in the company, and they have better procedures. So sometimes people is like ask like, why are your products like so expensive? And it's like, okay, it's because we care for the people that is behind this, and we want to make sure that they receive like a fair compensation for their work. So sometimes like as a business owner, you might think, okay, you know, like the costs are already pretty high. Like I really don't want to invest the extra in that. And it's like, okay, but like you have to connect with the people that values the same as you, you know? Like if you're having like as we said, like a company with values, if you're having like a company that wants to have like a social impact, you cannot compete by price. Like if you start competing by price, then you're lost. Like who can compete by price? Like the ones who like import like white labels from China, basically,
where they just slap their brand on it on someone else's product.
Exactly.
And how common is that, right?
Exactly, it's very common. That's a problem. But then if you wanna sell high like quality product with ethical practices, with organic raw material, then people is paying for that, and they will only pay for that because they resonate with your values and they're looking for what you're selling, because you're selling that. You're selling those like fair wages. You're selling that like ecosystem reconstruction. You're selling all that value into a bottle. You're not just selling one more skincare product.
One product,
Exactly.
And that's such a huge takeaway for people who are starting their own product brand, that if you're trying to start a sustainable or ethical brand, it's not going to resonate with everyone. And that's okay. Not everybody is in the mindset.
Ready for it,
And not everybody is ready for it. But finding the people who do care, that's going to be the game changer.
Exactly.
So you were sharing a little bit about how you were finding partnerships and that were helping you to be able to move product. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, like at the beginning, it's very hard because like there's not much information, and if you're not like at high level like industry, it's gonna be very hard to get the right people and the right contacts to get to who's doing things right. That's the effort that you have to put on. And you have to question as well. The same way you question yourself and your company and your products, you have to question your suppliers. So you start getting in touch with them, and it's like, okay, what products do you have? Where do they come from? Like, how is it the extraction of them? Can I go visit them? So actually, like with my main suppliers, it's beautiful because they have invited me, and I've been there, and I've talked with them. With the farmers that actually extract everything. It's a beautiful process because you also get to understand that like, okay, nature has its own rhythms and people like have to like respond to nature. So it's beautiful to see this connection and to also get to know the place where everything is starting. Like everything starts with a seed that's being planted by a farmer. The seed, you're talking to him, that like his energy at some point is like, it's also like put into that plant, into like the energy of that product. And it's beautiful to get to understand all this. And if you're not able to do it, it's because probably you're like, if you're not able to get that close with the people that is like sourcing you, then like what are you really buying? They can be selling you whatever, and you might not even be sure that you're buying what they're telling you that they're selling you. So for me, it's very important. Like for me, that's one of the highest values of the company. Just make sure that everything comes from a right like origin, from a fair origin, where it's been taken care, and not just like any random company that just sells on the internet, whatever.
Yeah, that sounds like you really have to have that instinct to, and the curiosity to really ask those questions yourself. Because of course each supplier, they're gonna present themselves in the best light. And so if you don't have that many follow-up questions, then it's gonna sound great.
Exactly. You need to be curious. Exactly. That's the thing. You need to be curious. You need to ask questions, because as I told you, if someone is doing it right, they'll be proud of it. And they will invite you to see what they're doing. So it's very, very important to first ask the questions, and second, like, if someone is doing things right, you'll notice it. If they're just like very vague, like sometimes like it was like very sad, like even other things or other areas of my life. Like if I would go to buy like organic detergent, I would go and I'm like, hey, so what are the ingredients on this? And they will be like, oh yeah, it's made of lavender. And I was like, yeah, so it's all lavender. Exactly. It's like I'm sure the whole bottle is not lavender. What's on it? And they were like, so like, you realize that they really don't know what they're selling. So how can they promote and market something that they don't even know what is it, you know? And the same happens to a lot of like companies that they're just like distributors and they don't even know what they're selling. So like, do you really want to buy to that people? You better go, like I did that, and I absolutely proud of it, because I skipped all the distributors and I went directly to all the sources. So I'm in direct touch with all the sources of the suppliers of my raw materials, and I don't have like any like intermediate like
that's amazing
distributors. Exactly.
And it sounds like that relationship building piece has been a really important factor in terms of knowing who you can trust.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it is fundamental.
And I'm sure, I mean, stuff like that's going to take a lot. It sounds pretty time intensive.
It is. It takes a lot of time. Like, it's a relationship that you have to build over time, and that you have to invest a lot of time doing the research. Might not be the most convenient thing. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it takes time and effort and energy. But that's the thing. It's like, what are your values? What do you think it's important for your company to represent and to be made of, literally?
Yeah, because you're not just selling products, you're building a brand. So you really need to have that strong foundation.
Exactly. And what I was telling you, like, Gaium, it's like a reflection of my own values. So like, if I value that transparency, if I value that like healthy origin, if I value that like ethical treatment to the people that is like sourcing all that, then like it's a non-negotiable. Exactly. For us, it's like a non-negotiable. It's like, it has to be good or it has to be good. Like, there is no plan B.
There's no other option.
Exactly. Like, there have been like moments where like my supplier has been like, sorry, like, for example, like the rose water. Oh, sorry, like the roses are still not ready to be harvested. So, like,
because of like the seasonality.
Exactly. So like, I would have to wait 1 or 2 months till the roses are ready to be harvested, so I can get the rose powder or the rose water, you know. And what I have to say to the clients, I'm sorry, like we're literally waiting for the roses. So it's very also different when you like are working with like huge suppliers that they don't really care and they just have like a constant supply of everything, versus when you're working with farmers and they're just like, you know, it's just still not the time. And once you might get like a super highly fragrant rose because it got more sun, so it's like more fragrant, and then like another one for rainy season that is not that fragrant, and you're like, hey, what happened with these roses? And they were like, it's just the sun.
This is the batch. Yeah.
The amount of sun that they got, and this is what we have. And I was like, okay, but you also have to learn to love the part of the process. Like, you try to standardize, but you cannot standardize nature. So it's also that learning process by the side, like by the hand of the farmers. So it's just like, okay, nature is nature. Yeah, it's gonna be valuable. So like, you just need to learn to work with that.
It's like a couple of my clients, they work with artisans, so all of their products are handmade and made with natural materials. So if someone has ordered a large batch of like baskets, for example, depending on the season, we might need to wait for the leaves to dry to be able to make the next batch. And so like there is that fluctuation, but that's also the beauty of it. And if you communicate it well, your customers will understand that too.
Exactly. And as we were talking,
and appreciate that.
Exactly. The customer that is buying you is because they appreciate that. So instead of waiting for everything to be a standard every single time, they wouldn't expect perfection. They will expect like kind of love and
that
care.
It's unique.
Exactly, that it's absolutely unique. Instead of being perfect, because like perfect can only be industrialized.
Yeah.
Nature cannot be industrialized.
That's not how it works.
Exactly.
So what's been working for you and Gaium in terms of getting your brand out there and getting customers?
Well, that part has been like the most challenging one, because like B2B is easier kind of thing, because you talk with the owner of the store, and like if the owner of the store like resonates with your values, then if it's like two people talking the same language, the same values, it's going to be easier to get to sell your products there. And then they take care of the marketing, they take care of the communication, and it's easier, you know? Like for example, for me, that I'm like a very like kind of like human, and I resonate more with people.
You like the face-to-face personal connection.
Exactly. And it's easier than to connect with the owner of the store, and then just like have that B2B relationship. But then when it's about like B2C, it's been definitely a challenge, because I'm more like the type of person that it's back in the research, and I'm the one who loves the products.
You're a product
exactly
person. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm the one who loves to be in the lab. I'm not the one who loves being out there making videos. So exactly. So like for me, like when it's about like B2C, it's harder, because as we were talking, like it's about to communicating your values. And here talking with you, it's very easy to communicate my values, and the same I'm with the owner of stores. But like when it's about like to communicate it like to massive media, to social media, it's just very hard, like for the company, for me, because I'm the company, to communicate that. And I think that that's been a challenge, and I think that might be a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, because sometimes you might be great, like absolutely like perfect at what you love to do, and you do it great. But then one thing is like being great at what you do, your product or your service, and then it's like another one is like selling it
and sharing it with the world.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't matter if you have the perfect product if people don't know about it.
Exactly. If you don't sell it, if you don't communicate the value of it, you might have the perfect product or service, but like if you don't sell it, then there's no company. You know. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I face, because I'm on the lab side, not on the selling side. So that's been a challenge for me personally, and of course for the brand. And I think that might be a challenge for a lot of people. So like right now, like I'm looking for partnerships to like communicate that better, because yeah, that's what you need. A business that doesn't sell is not a business by the end of the day. So for me, that's the thing, is like sometimes entrepreneurs would play to be all the roles.
Yes.
But exactly. But at some point you have to accept that you might not be the right person for all the roles. So just keep doing what you do best. And like that's what I do. I do amazing products. I love going on the research for new ingredients. I love doing the research for new formulations, but I might not be the best person to make a marketing plan, you know? So then I just need to look for someone to help me out. So what I think it's the best, like learning like this far, is just like look for the right partner. Just look for the right person to help you out with the things that are not your strengths. Delegating will
change a lot of things.
Exactly.
So I know that you were sharing that you're planning on shooting some content, so I'm excited for you. And also like you'll be able to use some clips from this interview too.
Yeah.
And I speak to a lot of small business owners who say, well, I don't know if I have a story to tell, or like what's my angle, what can I say? But you'd be surprised, like once you get some face-to-face time, the words just start flowing.
Just come out. Yeah, exactly. As
like
you said,
now,
exactly.
right?
Exactly, because it's very different to talk to someone, and because you're also like asking me questions, you're being curious yourself. So it's easier to share that than when no one is asking you anything and you're just
talking to a camera.
Exactly. Not even to a camera, to yourself, because like you have to use the front camera and you just like, okay, myself, like what are we gonna share? Like, because you have also like this syndrome of like, I think it's called the knowledge curse, and like then you think that, but you know, everyone knows it. It's just like,
but
I'm really gonna share this very silly basic fact that everyone knows. Like you're gonna look ridiculous sharing that. So that's when you get like blocked and freeze, and it's just like, I cannot do this. But exactly, when you have someone else to share it, then your spark comes out. And that's why I'm like also so excited to be here, because I can get to share with you. But like through this process, we can get to share with a lot of people as well. And it's not only that me facing myself on a phone. So
I know that you have some plans and you see a lot of opportunities with focusing on social media and then doing more of the direct to consumer route. But you've had some success doing B2B, so getting your products in stores. How did you go about finding those partnerships and building those relationships?
Well, the beautiful thing about those relationships is that they have been very, very organic. Most of them have reached to us, which I highly appreciate.
How did they find you?
It was like through social media. So, but yeah, they have reached to us. Only like one, we've reached to them, and the things like they already knew us. So they were like, "Oh, cool! Like I was interested in your product. So like I'm glad you text me." So it's been a process of like contacting some people, but like most people has come to us, and I think that's also like a beautiful part. And it's like, just be yourself and you'll attract the right people. Right?
It's
people
like you have that validation of the word of mouth is bringing people to you.
Exactly.
And then also social. So as you begin, as you continue to grow in that space, you'll be getting more there too.
Exactly. And like, I wouldn't say like it was like social itself, because like, as I told you, like I'm not the most like social media person. Exactly. But still, the fact that there's a profile there, like it's like an open channel for people to communicate with us. Like, and like we love, like I personally love like hearing like advice. Like if people text me, I could like literally say like hours chatting with them, just like solving their questions. And like they just send me like a photo of the list of ingredients of the products they have been using for the last year, and I'm like, that cleansing might not be the best option for you, and the toner maybe you can change it for another one. So like, even it doesn't have to be like for my own products, because like I have like also a beautiful like, I've had a beautiful chance of getting to know like a lot of like foreign friends, and things like, great, they might buy Gaium while they're here, but like once they're back to their countries, it's just like,
that's a little bit more complicated.
Exactly. But even then the relationship is still like strong. They just like send me like, okay, which brands do you recommend me from this like supermarket? And I'm like, okay, just send me the list of ingredients. Like that's the only way of knowing. And still I love helping people to support the right brands, local brands that are doing things right, because that's the most important thing by the end of the day. Like I would love to Gaium to grow and to be all around the globe, but like not even then. I would love to send like Colombian products all abroad. Like my idea would be like to make it local everywhere it is. So just like we open like,
oh, okay,
yeah,
like a version of Gaium.
Exactly. If we open Gaium America, then why would I import like Colombian products if also here we have amazing things like meadow foam oil, for example, or pistachio oil, or so many things that are grown in the States that are amazing. And same from Europe, for example, pomegranate oil, or like grapeseed oil, or so many things that are amazing that are just native.
You localize it?
Exactly. So, but I think it's like a challenge, but also an opportunity for a lot of brands. It's like to think global, but act local.
Locally.
Exactly, because that's the most important thing, to always like support your local community, and you can only do that like producing and sourcing everything at a local level.
Yeah. That's amazing, actually. On a personal level, Sara, I know that you're balancing quite a few things. You're working for a company part-time, doing social. You're working with Gaium. How are you making that work?
Well, that might be a challenge, but that's something that it's been a priority for me. Like at the beginning, Gaium wasn't a priority for me. Like it started like as something small, but then I got another job and everything. And then like it's been a year since I decided, okay, like this is working. People like this. I might still not be able to fully live the way I'm used to live with the income that I might get from Gaium. But still, if I don't invest more time on it, it will never get me there. Never.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided like to quit my previous job and look for a part-time job that will allow me to invest more time on Gaium. So basically what I'm doing right now is like being super like strict with my schedules, and it's like, okay, so You just need to block like time for your company, the same way you block time for like someone else's company. So instead of working like 8 hours a day for someone else, I'm like working 4 hours for someone else that helps me pay the bills. And then like 4 hours on what's my passion and what I wanna see as big as the company that I'm working in right now. So basically it's about like saying what you value, and it's like, okay, maybe this might not be giving me enough money to have the lifestyle that I want, but still it's a non-negotiable for me. I would never like take again a full-time job right now because it won't allow me to grow my business the way that I wanted to grow it. So basically it's just like prioritizing what's important for you, how you're going to manage your time, because you have a limited. People said that you just need to like make it work, like use the weekends. But it's just like, you also need to rest, you know? You cannot just have a full-time 9-to-5 job, have a house, a lot of people living with kids, and
then the 5 to 9. Like,
exactly, and then your own business. Exactly, you need to sleep, you need to rest, because otherwise you're going to get burnout.
You need to go to the park.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
That's not, like, burning yourself out is not the way of building a business. But it's about prioritizing. Okay, so you want to take out time for your business? Okay, then sacrifice a little bit of income, find a part-time job, and then the other time use it to build that business and to get you where you want to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Give yourself a period of time and make a plan and just follow the plan.
Yeah, I love how you say like you schedule your time for your business.
Yeah,
I think it's so easy to like make commitments for other people, like you said, or to your work or to friends or to family. But then when it comes to you, it's like, oh, well, if I didn't get to it, I guess I'll do it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right? It's such an easy thing to do, and I'm guilty of that too. But like scheduling it, it's like you're making that commitment. Exactly,
because if you don't do it, like if you're a solopreneur and you're the only one who's given time to it, and if you don't make the space for it, like
then it's not gonna get done.
Exactly, your businesses will never gonna grow, because like if you're not like investing in it, everything is an investment. You invest in like, if you not only invest like money, but you also need to invest energy and time, and if you don't do it, like how is it gonna grow if it has no investment of anything?
Yeah, it won't. So are there any trends in sustainability or skincare that you're excited for?
Well, there is like, thanks God, there's like this minimalist skincare trend that is just like there's like even like an award for like minimalistic skincare, like shorter list of ingredients. That's been a trend, and I think that's absolutely amazing, as well as organic. Ethically, it's still not a trend. I hope it will get to be a trend soon. But like organic is being a trend, natural is being a trend, and like more simple, like minimalistic, it's been a trend. Not as big as it should be, but it's a trend. I think it's very important to get there. And I think it's also very important to listen to this trend of oils. Like people is starting to get rid of the fear they had to oils.
Yeah, they're
face oils.
You see them everywhere now.
Exactly, because it's like oils are like the purest way of nature, or of giving us like these like super packed like source of vitamins and minerals. Like we don't appreciate it nowadays because it's like so easy for us to access to a bottle of oil, but like to get a liter of oil, you need to like cold press like a ton of raw material, you know? So
thinking about like the process of it, of like someone standing up to a tree and
exactly
pulling the lever, or however that works, like I would imagine like that's a lot of time.
Exactly. I mean, if you have ever tried it, I don't know if you have ever tried to extract like coconut oil.
Personally, no. Yeah. I've just seen like sap extraction, so I imagine that it's something similar.
Exactly. It's like for a whole coconut, you might get like this of coconut, and then you get a whole bottle, and then you don't appreciate it because you see it at every supermarket. But it's just like, it's very like hard. Like it demands a lot of like raw material, and it demands a lot of like effort to get all these oils, and they're packed with minerals and vitamins, and they're like naturally like expiration date free, you know? They tend to be very long lasting. So it's amazing because it's something from nature that doesn't get spoiled like fast, and it's packed with minerals and with vitamins, and like we should take more advantage of that. And because of the fact that some oils that the industry has used have been like very harmful for our skin, doesn't mean that all the oils are created the same. It's like the same way you wouldn't say that a coconut is the same as a raspberry, you know? You cannot say like coconut oil is the same as raspberry oil, you know? So like you cannot compare just because both are oils, they're not the same. So like raspberry oil might be great for your skin, but then like coconut oil it might not. Maybe for your body, but not for your face.
So one thing that I've seen is that a couple of years ago, like you would see skincare lines with like 8 to 10 different products. I think we're seeing like more of a reduction, like 3 to 5 steps. What would do you have like a recommendation on like what is like the sweet spot you want to be in?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends because like our skin is very, very smart. I think it's like our largest organ. The thing is like under like the right, like the ideal conditions, it will just clean itself. It won't be clogged. It won't have like any imperfections as they call it. But the reality is that we live in a very different environment to our ideal conditions.
Right, we live in cities.
Exactly. We're exposed
depending on the weather.
Exactly. We're exposed to pollution. We're exposed to a lot of toxins. We're exposed to a lot of like food intolerances, allergies, inflammation, and our skin is like a mirror. It reflects everything that is happening inside our body, and you'll see all that in your skin. So that's where skincare comes in, like to help you treat the symptoms, but you need to be aware that those are symptoms
and not the root of the issue.
Exactly. You need to take care of the root of it inside your body, to look inside and it's like, okay, like what's happening that I'm having these symptoms, right? So first you have to take that into consideration, but like then just taking like a general look into it, you need to then clean your skin because like we live in a world that's very polluted. So you need to clean your skin. And how do you clean your skin? Like there are 2 types of pollution, like of dirt, let's say. Like one is like oil soluble and the other is water soluble. So the one that it's only soluble in water, it needs like a soap, like normal soap to be removed. And then the one that is oil soluble, then you need an oil to remove it. So there is where you have the double cleansing. And it's like first you clean with an oil that it's formulated with that. Please don't use coconut oil. That trend is one that I'm worried about. Like people shouldn't use coconut oil on their face, but
to be removing makeup.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't do that. Just find like a good like oil that is formulated for that. Or if you want to use like something that you can find on your shelf, just look for like olive oil. Like good quality olive oil is better than coconut oil. Yeah, I know that you might end up smelling like a salad, but that's
why you wash it again. That's
exactly. So first, like an oil, cleansing oil. Then you use a face wash, like the common ones, of course, with good ingredients. Then you need to use a toner. Like toner, I think it's like the most like underrated skincare product, but it's very important because like it helps to rebalance the pH of your skin. Even if you only wash your face, you rinse your face with water. Water has a pH of 7, then your skin has a pH of 5. So you need to recover the pH of your skin before you put anything else on it. Otherwise, your skin will be very reactive and won't like properly absorb the products that you put afterwards on it. So how do we do that in Gaium? And I would recommend that to everyone. Like we use distilled water or hydrolytes from different plants to take advantage of the properties of the plants. But what you can do is literally like an infusion, like an herbal infusion of chamomile can be great because like that also has like a pH of 5. So like even if you don't want to buy a toner, just do like an infusion and an herbal tea that will help a lot your skin to recover its pH. But like the basics, very basics, is just like the cleansing. It's just like oil, like face wash, cleansing oils, face wash, and toner to recover the skin, the pH of the skin, and that's it, basically.
Wow, so really just those 3 steps in whatever form.
Exactly.
The other stuff is kind of just added bonuses.
Exactly.
As long as they're natural, organic.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. When you think about what you want to be remembered for, either in terms of Gaium or just life in general, what does that look like for you?
Well, for me, it's like giving back. I wanna have an impact on like environment at an environmental level, at an ecosystem level. I would love to be remembered for like protecting the páramo, maybe, or just like for helping people to avoid cancer, because like there are so many ingredients in personal care that are carcinogenic, as we talked before. So like I would love to be remembered for having impact on people's lives at a health level, and for having this like ecosystem, like nature impact as well, because I think that we cannot survive without nature. So like taking care of nature, that is like, or literally our house, and then taking care for like people. I think those two were like, would be like the two most beautiful things that I could be remembered for. For me, that's important. Like just having a real impact on people's lives and having a real impact on my ecosystem. I think those two, I would die happily if I would be remembered for those two things. And even if I'm not remembered, if I got to have like a real impact on those two areas, that would be perfect for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Whether people know your name or not.
Exactly. As long as I had an impact, that's enough for me.
So, do you have any closing thoughts or remarks for or tips for people who are having their own business and want to be either more ethical than they already are, or are starting their own business and they want to go that route?
Of course, like first, as I told you, be curious. There's always like gap for improvement. So just be curious, question yourself, question your product, question like, where is this coming from? Where is this going afterwards? How can we have a better impact at every level, at every single level? I think that's very important. First, second, find your values. Like just be clear on what you value and what you want to share with the world. If you're clear on what you value, then you'll find your non-negotiables, and then you'll go for it, and you will protect what's important for you. And people that loves you will love you for those values. And those will be your loyal clients, the ones who resonate with your values and that have the same vision of the world as you have. So I think those two things are very, very important. First, be curious. Second, be loyal to your values.
Amen. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like this has been such an insightful conversation. I'm really glad that we had you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much.